Growing up, I didn't have Cartoon Network, so I never got to experience the Toonami block. I didn't even have Teletoon, which was sort of the CN equivalent, but not really. I mean, they both aired Ben 10, so eh. But that didn't mean I went without a Friday night anime block. For us Canadians, we had Bionics, which was YTV's equivalent to Toonami.
So put up your firewall and turn off your phone because all the anime entertainment you need is right here.
They call me a monster.
Bionics. Tonight starting at 9.
There was the usual Naruto, Bleach, and Gundam Seed, but there was also FMA, Witch Hunter Robin, and Inuyasha. I guess you could say that this was when I experienced real anime, or shows that were meant for a more mature audience, but these were still shows that aired on North American television. It wasn't until around 2010 when I watched my first anime entirely in subbed, a show called Special A. Originally a manga by Maki Minami, it was serialized in the Hana no Yume bi-monthly magazine in 2003, before moving to the bi-weekly edition in 2004. An anime adaptation by Studio Gonzo and AIC was later announced to air in 2008. The show follows the 7 highest scoring students in Hakusenkan Academy, who are a part of the Special A class, basically the S tier on a tier list. They wear different uniforms, attend different classes, and apparently get their own greenhouse where all they do is drink tea all day. It is a shoujo anime, so romance is inevitably going to show up. In fact, most of the main cast do end up together with someone by the end of the show. I honestly can't give you a reason as to why I watched this show in the first place. I was 12 at the time, and the only shows that I watched that had shoujo aspects to them were magical girl shows. These shows were directed more towards young girls, but they still had a lot of action to them, because they followed a Monster of the Week type formula. If I had to guess, it was probably because the name sounded cool or something. But if it wasn't for this show, I don't think I would have gotten into shoujo anime or enjoyed slice of life nearly as much as I do now. It was so different from what I was used to, but I was just so intrigued by the characters. I wanted to be part of SA, but alas, I was just another normie in a public school. Speaking of normies, we have our main character, Hikari Hanazono, the daughter of a master carpenter who was trained in pro wrestling at a young age. She has a rival named Kei Takashima, the son of the president of the Takashima group, who's also skilled in pro wrestling. He wasn't just better at Hikari at pro wrestling, but pretty much everything else. Hikari's always been second to him, and so he gave her the nickname of Miss Second Place. And then there's everyone else. Take a seat because this might take a while. Akira Todo, the daughter of the president of an airline, is ranked 6th. She prepares meals for everyone in the morning and has a lovey-dovey relationship with Hikari. Karino Tadashi is the son of the head of the Academy Board of Directors and is ranked 5th. He's the carefree one of the bunch who somehow manages to annoy Akira just by being himself. I'm surprised he hasn't died after all the times he's been socked, tossed, or hit with a chair. Like, damn woman, calm down.
わかった。お前エースだろ。
Jun and Megumi Yamamoto. They're twins to a famous song producer and singer, ranked 3rd and 4th respectively. Jun apparently plays the violin. He probably played it for a few seconds in 1 or 2 episodes, but it's something, I guess. Megumi speaks using a sketchbook because she doesn't want to damage her voice. Also, because whenever she does sing, she just casually summons a nuclear blast.
ちょっと、
I remember thinking how quirky it was to talk using a notepad, and I may or may not have tried to copy her in grade school. I was a really cringy weeb back in grade school, and thinking back, it was more insensitive than anything else. It's not as though Megumi wanted to talk like this, but I digress. And at rank 7th, we have Ryu Suji, the son of the president of a sporting goods manufacturer. He has a deep admiration for animals, and took care of Jun and Megumi when they were younger. Because of this, the twins get mad at anything that tries to steal their precious Ryu-kun from them.
Stay!
One thing that most of these characters have in common is that they come from prestigious families. I say most because when I think of rich people, especially ones in anime and cartoons, the president of a sporting goods manufacturer isn't the first thing that comes to mind. Not saying they can't be stupid rich, it's just an interesting choice. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but all the characters have what I dubbed long ass legs syndrome, or I haven't seen legs this long since Code Geass for short. Special A aired 2 years after, so I guess this sort of art style was popular at the time.
だからいつも言ってるだろ、普通にしろって。
Episode 1 tries to establish some sort of hierarchy between SA and the rest of the students. This punk who I'll name Dude from Episode 1 feels as though SA is looking down on them just because they get special privileges. He tries to blackmail Hikari by giving her answers to an exam so that she can beat Kei. But because she wants to beat him fair and square, she and Kei proceed to beat the shit out of Dude from Episode 1. He comes back in Episode 10 only to be manhandled by Ryu. Seriously, this guy answered 1,000 questions perfectly in 10 minutes. It was kind of amazing. There was also Episode 2 where the student council challenged SA, but they proceeded to get destroyed by Kei and Hikari. And, well, that's as far as the plot goes in terms of external conflict, without getting into major spoilers, of course. This show is focused more on character relationships and the constant, oh, will they, won't they, between specific couples. Obviously, there's Kei and Hikari, but also Akira and Tadashi, as well as some other characters. You can just smell the romantic tension between Kei and Hikari from a mile away. Kei's usually the one to instigate it by accepting Hikari's challenges, making her do things that couples usually do when she loses. He isn't very subtle about it either sometimes.
ただし、今回俺が勝ったら光の一日を俺にいただきます。
Hikari's oblivious to his advances because she only sees him as a rival for the most part. You can imagine how many times Kei was rival zoned because of her personality. But as the story progresses, she begins to have more feelings for him and it stops being this will they won't they scenario. You know they're gonna hook up, it's just a matter of when. This show had a lot of weird and questionable moments in its first 12 episodes. Aside from the fact that we don't actually see any of these different classes SA students attend, there are times when other students literally try to kill Hikari or Kei all for the sake of sabotaging them. Little do they know, they have the power of anime on their side, allowing them to perform superhuman feats like vaulting over this giant mountain and surviving explosions and shit. By the way, that was done by Akira, who for some reason thought killing Kei was the only way to stop him from winning. These guys are friends, by the way. It's as if she knew somewhere deep down that Kei was able to survive all these traps, which is why she decided to kill him instead. Great. And then there's episodes 8 and 9 where we meet this freaking brat. This little kid put Hikari through so much shit, all because he was being a little bitch boy and wouldn't open up to anyone. I mean, she almost died if Kei wasn't there to save her. And let's not forget the times he pissed off the twins, all because he wanted his Ryu Ni-sama all to himself.
リュウ兄様には一緒に僕の別荘に来てもらおうと思うんだ。ハワイではずっと一緒ですよ、リュウ兄様。
The next episode has Hikari kidnapped? Technically, she was thrown into the creepy dungeon after she agreed to come over to someone's house, so I don't know. She honestly didn't seem that fazed, and it didn't help that they played the usual cheery track when she was released. Everyone else at the villa were a bit too calm at the thought of their friend being held as bait. Hey, here's a thought. Maybe you should call the police or something? Kei and Tadashi do go over to rescue her, but you have Tadashi all like, I wonder how I'm gonna find Hikari in this giant villa. I guess I'll just lounge it. Oh, hey Hikari. Kei and I were worried, so we came to get you. Dude, don't act like you weren't just chillin' 5 minutes ago, right? She gets back to her friends, and you get to see how dense Hikari really is. She tells Akira that she's gonna go back because she left without saying anything. I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, he's definitely gonna be shocked if he suddenly found me gone. I can't make this shit up. This isn't even how it went down in the manga. I didn't even read it for the video, but I had to see if she was really that dumb. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. Yeah, these 2 episodes were all kinds of weird. Aside from that, we're also introduced to Kei's hopeless dad, who's way too much of a sissy to be running such a massive corporation. In fact, he often has Kei do pretty much all the work because other people know how much of a yes man his dad is. It isn't all bad though. It actually gives me hope. If someone like him can make it, then so can I.
お一人でどうぞ。
しかし先方がぜひ K のチャイナ服姿が見たいと言ってて。
色物会社ですか、うちは。
安心しろ、 俺も切るぞ。
And then we have Yahiro. I don't like Yahiro, and I get that's sort of the point. At first I thought he was the rival love interest to Kei, but no, he's just a dick. Yahiro, Akira, and Kei were all friends when they were younger, but Akira broke it off once she realized how manipulative Yahiro was. All he wanted was to protect Akira from those who wanted to take advantage of her wealth. He uses his status to ruin someone else's life, but for what? He's already resolved to be the bad guy for her sake, but even then, he's not allowing her to make any new friends or move on from the past. He has good intentions, but went about it in a very stupid way.
君すごい暴れ馬だね。
暴れ馬って。
K 君はちゃんと君を乗りこなせているのかな?
Whoa there, pal. This is supposed to be a PG-13 show. The first 12 episodes were kind of all over the place. It mainly focused on Kei and Hikari's relationship, but the other characters really took a back seat. It wasn't too bad since Hikari was relatively close to everyone, but Kei is just so distant in comparison. I get that that's his whole character, you know? He tends to spend a lot of time by himself, but it would have been nice for him to go on a bro date with the other boys. It's clear that he understands each of his members, but it was never shown to us. I think Kei going on an adventure with Tadashi or Ryu would make for a great episode. It would at least show us that he is interested in hanging out with someone other than Hikari.
ひかり、ヤヒロに何を言われたのですか?
何も。
いえ。
言えるか。
いえ。
しつこいぞ滝島。
いえ。
だから言わん。
いえ。
お前ほんとすごい。
The second half of the anime is where it really started to pick up for me. We got to learn a bit more about the other members, and the stories that were introduced were a lot more serious. They still have their wackiness to them, but you definitely feel like shit's about to go down from episode 13. More of a focus is placed on Akira and June this time around. They both have a dark past that they don't want to reveal to the others because it gave them so much trauma. Akira was scared of losing her friends, and June was afraid to fall in love with anyone. On the topic of June, there was a very brief flashback in episode 10 of the twins crying when they were younger. I really wish this was going to be brought back at some point, but it was just swept under the rug unfortunately. Ryu obviously shows concern for these two, but taking the time to explain what happened would have been nice. It would give us more of a reason to care for these twins in my opinion. I think Akira's whole character arc was done pretty well for the most part. The first half where she had to overcome her trauma was wrapped up nicely, while setting us up for the second part concerning her feelings towards Tadashi. I can't say the same for June though, because his arc needed more time to be fleshed out. It starts in episode 16 and ends in episode 20, but there wasn't anything to suggest that he was developing feelings for this character named Sakura during this time. I mean, he does say that he's liked her ever since the end of episode 16, but again, I wanted to see this development for it to be more convincing. Am I asking too much for a 13-year-old anime? Probably, but I value good character arcs, goddammit. Aside from that, episode 19 is hands down the best episode in the show because it solidified Megumi as best girl. Akira? More like... Hikari? More like... No. But Megumi? More like she should be with Megumi. I'm not gonna lie, there were some great moments in this episode. First off, we get to see how loopy Hikari is when she's sick. Think of that one episode in Love is War where Kaguya gets sick, and it's basically that.
何がしたいのですか?
あれだ。なんかお前に触ってみたくなったんだ。
I can't tell if Kei was just caught off guard or if he wanted to savor this moment of loopy Hikari. Probably the former, since she can be pretty scary at times.
なんでだ。竹芝は私が嫌いなのか。
As for Megumi, she goes on a date with Yahiro. It makes a lot more sense with context, but she was trying her best not to sock him in the face.
ダイエットしないの?
This is probably the funniest scene in the show, but I want to punch Yahiro in the face so much. Megumi loves everyone in SA very much, and she wanted to help them in any way she could. This is one of the rare moments where she didn't have Ryu for support, and the same goes for June, except his situation was a bit different. If you've been on my channel long enough, you'll know that I'm an equal opportunist anime watcher when it comes to dubbed versus subbed. For this show in particular though, I'd recommend you watch it in sub because I couldn't get through an episode in the dub. There was a real charm in the original that the dub just wasn't able to capture in my opinion. The main issue was with Tadashi's voice actor. He was played by Andrew Love, and for some reason, he gave him this really deep manly voice, like distressingly deep.
Call it a manly spirit of adventure. Anyway, seconds please.
Get it yourself! Oh! You wild thing!
I was caught off guard, like, Tadashi, what did they do to you? I'm sure Andrew Love's a great voice actor, but this definitely wasn't his best performance. Hikari's voice was also really whiny to me, but I do get where Monica Rial was going with it.
I mean, isn't that strange? I mean, Takashima said that I see him as a romantic interest, that I like him. Oh, I just can't take it.
The other characters sounded fine for the most part, but again, there was nothing really to write home about. Special A was a show I wanted to cover ever since I started making videos. It's not the best shoujo anime I've watched, but it certainly has its charm. I know I ragged on it a lot, but that's just how things were back in the day. It was a late 2000s shoujo rom-com. Of course there'd be some bombastic characters that made each character unique and likable, aside from their looks. All the stuff I found cool 12 years ago is kinda cringy now, but I'm still glad I got to revisit a piece of my childhood with you guys. It's not perfect, but it'll always hold a special place as the first real anime I've ever watched.
残念でしたね兄さん
にって言うな